Yes, sir. Week 8, NFL Run the North. Will with the Vikings. Jason representing the Bears. Let's get into it. Jason, you want to kick off some of our segments here? Sounds like you have some thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I got a knee-jerk reaction immediately. So we had the Thursday night game. We had Vikings-Rams. We had the Sunday afternoon, got flexed from noon to 3:30 for those Midwestern fans. That Central Time Zone. Bears sort of got moved up to prime time.
I was a little surprised to see it. You think it was just because the Caleb Jaden show off? Sure.
And then we had the whole blue balls all week. Like, Jaden's not going to play. He's got the rib injury. And then we got that whole thing about like, well, if it was Caleb that was hurt, we'd never hear the end of it. But Jaden gets a pass either way.
Right.
Whatever. Anyway, I got one hot take that's going to split off into two, or knee-jerk reaction rather. The Bears are who we thought they were. Okay, so that's a little shout out back. We won a game against the Cardinals against Dennis Green forever ago.
Denny Green.
Anyway,
they are who we thought they were.
You want to crowd up that product? Anyway, I mean, so they went in hot. This was the best team they played all season, which again, record wise is sweet, but they're not that great of a team as we learned today. Fuck, man, it's one of those games where you saw plenty of good, but mostly it was bad. We're now into week 8, which of an 18-week, 17-game season. You're halfway through the year, and we still don't know who the fuck the Bears are.
You should be able to go blow for blow.
You should absolutely be hitting momentum. I mean, regardless of injuries, you're totally right. And I don't know what they're still trying to do on offense. I was like, oh, well, DeAndre Swift, DJ Moore, that's clear, and Cole Kmet. Well, they decided not to run the ball. And when they didn't run the ball, they definitely didn't run between the tackles until the last drive when it worked. And then when they were throwing the ball, they were doing bullshit screens on 4th and 1, which, again, stupid. And we started to progress well as an offense when we got away from that stuff. And then we stopped throwing the ball over the middle field. Oh, wait. And then it worked again. The last drive when we hit Kmet and a couple other plays, Odunze and several others, over the middle. The fuck are we doing? It was very painful to watch. Offensive line, defensive line sucked. Defensive line did good containing Daniels, but really no pressure. Mm-hmm. Offensive line, terrible. Jenkins went down our left guard. Jones went down our left tackle. Now, the backup, which is our 3rd-round rookie left tackle out of Yale, never let up a pressure in college. He ain't it. And I wanted to be it so bad because he grew up 10 minutes from me, but he is not it. And I don't want him being not it to make you think that you need to pay Jones because he ain't it either. You go draft a tackle this offseason, no question. The kid out of LSU, the kid out of Texas, do it. The Bears are who we thought they were. They're going to end up being a more dramatic 9-8, 8-9 than I thought. But they're not ready to get over the hump. And I'll get this later when we talk about the Vikings game, but I have a very interesting identity correlation between the Bears and Vikings, believe it or not. We'll get to that in a minute.
I'm interested.
The Vikings are who we thought they were, or at least who I thought they were. And I'm not trying to put a dagger in all y'all Vikings fans. I sent over that Midwestern Viking fan tweet to you. And I was like, oh,
no offense, no offense taken.
I'm glad you got kids. Yeah, I'm glad you got kids, and I'm glad they're excited. But you don't want to get too excited. That was a great.
I mean, I feel like that's basically what I've sounded like for the last 7 weeks.
Yeah, this entirely has 50 shades of light, dark purple, and very reminiscent of the 2022 season where you guys won all those one-score games, 13-3 with Kirk Cousins, but then you let the air out at the end when you lost the first round to the fucking Giants and Daniel Jones. So it's starting to feel that way because you're all finesse like we were talking about last week on both sides of the ball. And do you have an it guy? Do you have it just impose your will as opposed to game flow and a couple of pop plays? That is my 2-for-2 knee-jerk reaction on both sides of our team. What do you got?
Knee-jerk, I'm going to keep it to the Vikings since I didn't watch much of the Bears game that just concluded not that long ago. Vikings, knee-jerk reaction. It's more of a specific one. I'll say this. Vikings lost to the Rams, dropped us to 5-2, second loss in 5 days. Here's my knee-jerk reaction. Losing Christian Darrisaw for the season, probably into next season too, with the torn ACL and MCL.
RIP, bro.
More impactful. I think I texted you this. More impactful to the Vikings season than losing Justin Jefferson. That's my knee-jerk reaction. And my reasoning is this. If we lose him for the season, we have Jordan Addison that's talented. He's not the same, but he can step up and fill that void. We have Jalen Naylor, who's promising. He's a promising young receiver. We have Brandon Powell. We have guys that can fill in at wide receiver. I would say losing Christian Darrisaw is pretty much the most impactful loss we could have had, the worst loss we could have had outside of probably Sam Darnold.
That's tough.
He was playing fantastic, and he was. I don't know why, but early on in his career, I really wasn't sold on him. But this year, he was
with
really
the concussion history too. It's tough because he was missing some time.
He was missing time, and I was like, I don't know if he's going to figure it out. But this year, I mean, he's just been amassing clips. He's been bullying guys. He looked fantastic, and
fun to watch.
The reason why this is going to be so impactful, assuming you can anticipate a relative decline in offensive line play. Sam Darnold has only been as effective as he has been because he's been kept clean. And if we can't keep him clean, he's looked. I know apparently he has a good passer rating. I call him a passer rating merchant because he's not passing the eye test for me right now. He's looking squirrely. He's double clutching a lot. He's looking unsure of himself. I think losing Christian Darrisaw is pretty much the worst thing that could have happened to this team outside of losing Sam Darnold.
No, that's brutal, especially because So I texted you. I think it was like in the 130s at one point in the game. He finished with a 128.8, which is damn near perfect, especially because a perfect is 158.3, and rarely is that ever touched.
That's so you mentioned. You know what? I'll look at it a different way. It means he's not taking enough risks. He's not taking enough shots. He's playing it too safe.
All right. Well, okay. So they had some chunk plays. I mean, he was 18 to 25, 240, and 2 touchdowns. Jefferson, Jones, and Oliver had longs of 27, 25, 24, which is nice. But I can kind of see what you're saying as far as the aggressiveness. I think he's more opportunistic than directly taking a chance and affecting the game. I'm with you.
Yeah. Well, we can get into that. We can get into that more. Let's dive into the Bears game because, again, I didn't get to see a lot. So just give me the narrative. Tell me what happened.
Well, I guess I already did. The Bears are who we thought they were. They came into the game. First drive, 3 and out.
What was wrong with the offense? It took the offense didn't score anything in the first half, I think.
They looked exactly the same as week 1.
Just zero identity. Caleb's running for his life. Run game's not getting going.
Off schedule. The biggest point, which is the simplest, stupidest point, is that there's absolutely no identity. We came into these games, and like I mentioned in the rant, that when they started to take off, weeks 3 through 7, or 3 through 6 by week 7, they ran the ball between the tackles very effectively. They kept guys on schedule, rhythm passing, and more importantly, passing over the middle. So just outside the hashes and inward. They didn't do any of that until basically the fourth quarter, which is insane to me. And that tells me that they have no identity and they're trying to get too cute. I mean, really, Cole Kmet had 0 targets until halfway through the fourth quarter. What the fuck are we doing?
I did hear that on the radio as I was driving. They made insane. That call out. It was in the third quarter where they're like, Cole Kmet, one of their leading receivers, 0 catches today.
Well, it's completely asinine when like DJ is good for 580, maybe a touchdown. Keenan's good for 450 and but all those 4 are for 4 first downs. Odunze is going 2 or 3 with a couple of pop plays. It just really was off schedule, off rhythm. Could not do anything they wanted to on command. And to me, that's a big deal. Like, you don't have to get 5 yards on command or 20 yards on command. It's just like, can I run the ball effectively? Effectively is not 20 attempts for 100, but it's any play I want. Can I get 5 yards? Or can I scheme up just a 7 yards on first down and feel good about it? We're playing behind the sticks all game. It's not that we were overly pressured. It's not that it just looked all out of sorts.
It looked more so like the Bears lost the game more so than the Redskins won the game. Would you say that?
At times, I'm going to say it's both, honestly, because really there weren't many players that specifically stood out to me, which is rare. Usually I can see a lineman popping on offense or defense. Usually a DB's got some great footwork and breaks. Maybe, some receivers got a little extra it today and he's getting extra yard of separation. He's open. There was nobody that really stood out to me. And oh yeah, man, I fucked up not picking him for fantasy this year. I mean, Terry McLaurin had 4 for 100. There were other statistics in the game, but really, pass rush was minimal. What really stood out was the negatives. I mean, we lost our first left guard and our second left guard. That was bad. But on top of that, our left tackle was lost. And so now we got our backup, which is our third round pick, who's come back from injury, which is great. But he's a third rounder from Yale. Enough with this fucking small school. I'm smarter than everybody. He never let up a pressure or a sack in college. Like, how about just
you're playing at Yale though,
so do it for the SEC? Right. Yeah, exactly, 100%. I mean, and it really showed today. Really? Okay, we have a couple of high picks. I think we have 3 picks in the first round and a half, basically. And with the Panthers sucking, we're going to have the 33rd and the 34th pick. All 3 of our first picks better be O-line, D-line, like for real.
Yeah.
You have nothing that says about your team or your coaching that says this is who we are and this is what we're going to do. The fucking Lions put up 52 points against Tennessee. Tennessee sucks, but they have a solid off defense.
And how many passing yards did Jared Goff have?
50 and like 10
I think
touchdowns
like 80,
or something?
82 and like 3 touchdowns. Just wild stat line.
Yeah, 12 of 15, 85 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 129.9 passer rating. Unbelievable. David Montgomery threw a fucking touchdown.
Dude, Ben Johnson's just bored. He's just bored. He's like, how many other random people can I get to score touchdowns in weird ways?
Dude, it's a thing. I mean, really. So I got a couple, I guess. Oh man. I guess I'm ultimately long-term Bears fan. I'm glad that they lost because it points out some of the bullshit. Like I was this close. I was pissed all fucking game to the last 2 drives of the game. And I'm like, you know what? If they pull this out, then I'm all about this as far as integrity and a character standpoint for this team. And I was ready to praise them. But then they lost in the same typical Bears fashion. And we've learned nothing. We've accomplished nothing. It was a waste of a week as far as development for your quarterback and your squad and just identity as a whole. We're now going into week 9. We have no fucking clue who we are. And we're going to play Arizona next week. And we still don't know who we are halfway through the season. That's bad.
Yeah, listen, it comes back to what I've been saying to you from an outsider's perspective, especially after watching Hard Knocks. It's not Shane Waldron. I don't think he's doing you any favors, but it's Eberflus, man. He's got negative aura. I don't think he's got command of this team, and it shows itself in games like this.
Dude. So I was given that thought because I'm agreeing more and more. Not that I was ever pro Eberflus. I was just like, we'll see what happens. Coming into this game, my thought was, is this going to be a trap game? Well, can't be a trap game if you're not favored. Is this going to be an issue where it's a younger team coming off a London travel and all of the hype of being 4-2 when you really haven't played anybody and then the bye week? Well, yeah, maybe. It just felt wrong and gross coming into the game. I just didn't have that cocky swag coming in. It's like, oh yeah, it'd be exciting if they won, but I'm feeling like a Midwesterner, like, oh well, maybe, fuck it. Really
Yeah.
brutal. But to your Eberflus point, what really got into my head is, okay, they won 2 games in a row before the bye week against shit teams. They crushed Carolina and they crushed Jacksonville. So maybe the media is going to start feeling them. And guess what? That's exactly what Tony Romo did. Tony Romo came in just totally full stroke, like Collinsworth on Mahomes for Eberflus. Oh, this defensive scheme is elite. They do a great job. This culture is completely turned around, And then they come out in the same half hot airbag, popped halfway through the game. It's like, yeah, we have no idea who this guy is.
To Flus's credit, they held the Skins, who had been, I guess they're not the Skins anymore, they're the Commies. They held the Commies to 19 points, right? That was, or 18 points?
9 through most of the game. You're absolutely right.
But they finished the game at, what was the final score? I thought it was like 18,
15.
Yeah, I mean, isn't the rule of thumb is like if your defense holds them to under 21 points, you're supposed to win that game?
Yep.
Defense kind of did its job there.
They definitely did. And how long is that going to last before the defense goes, fuck you guys? Offense has enough talent. Why aren't you able to do this? I'm done digging in the bag and grinding out a win for you guys every single week. We're 8 weeks through the season, and there's only 2 games that they won convincingly. Yeah. I'm with you there, dude.
Well, it always makes me wonder what's going on behind the scenes on the offensive side when stuff like this is happening. Like, I'm tempted to say it's like, well, maybe Shane Waldron sees these guys in practice every day and he's just got no confidence that they can execute the offense that he wants to run, especially given Caleb's a rookie. Who knows? Is he managing his pass protection? Like how much can he manage the game at this point in his career? But then again, you have, that story from a few weeks ago where they, the offensive players have this heart-to-heart with him, or a come to God moment maybe with Shane Waldron and said, hey, let's get aggressive. Let's do the thing. So it does make me wonder if there's just hesitancy from the coaching side where he's like, I don't think these guys are capable of running the offense I want to run. So now we run this kind of bastardized form of it where we don't have an identity. I'm just running plays that I've seen them actually be able to pull off in practice. And
Sure.
I don't trust them to pull off maybe some of the more complex concepts.
Well, that's a really good point. One, you got a rookie quarterback who's learning how to process because he came from a college scheme that's very much one side of the field or just 2 reads ago. The other part of it is we had a 4th and 1, and I'd want to know this, one, to your point, but also for this specific play, as it was 4th and really like less than a yard. And we get up to the line, and Caleb throws a perfect screen ball horizontal to DJ, and he's short. What the fuck are we doing? Put your head down and run the ball, right? I'd like to know if that was called or if that was an audible that Caleb saw. Like, yeah, the corner was
I sure
off,
hope
but
he
you got to
would.
know that corner's coming downhill.
I feel like a screenplay is so risky. Like, it's like a 50-50 chance you're going backwards on a screenplay.
But again, when you lack identity, you know not to fucking run that. If you know who you are as an offense, you're not running that bullshit.
Yeah,
you're trying to be the smartest guy in the room when you're just clearly not. It's crazy.
Who would have thought we'd be sitting here as Vikings and Lions fans and just being like, God, the Lions really got it figured out, man. Like, because to your point, when you're talking about identity, Lions, you know they're going to run it down your throat. And they're going to run it until you stop them from getting 6, 7, 8 yards a run. It's incredible.
We trusted it last week when they were down 10, that there was like, all right, they'll figure it out.
Yeah. And then when it's like 4th and 1 and they're on, your 20-yard line, you're like, okay, here comes the run. Then they do like the halfback pass to like the third lineman for the touchdown, for like a 20-yard touchdown. You're like, well, what?
Swaggy,
and then you're just like, okay, what am I supposed to do here? Like, how do you never know what's coming.
So I'll give you this before we kind of transition out, because I'm just not. It's about what we expected, and so overall picture of the season, it's about what we expected, but I didn't expect it in this game, especially because I had that in my head of like, if Jaden was healthy and Caleb was hurt, he wouldn't get the same excuses as bullshit as if it, the way that played out, like, oh, Jaden's hurt and they lost. Oh, well, that's not a real game. It doesn't count. Blah, blah. We know that's coming. Like, we heard all that. So I made the take probably 2, 3, maybe even 4 weeks ago now. I don't even know how long ago it was. And I even called my dad, who is grumpy, old school, 85 Bears apologist all the way. I'm like, are you ready to watch this game? He goes, yeah. I mean, who cares? I'm like, well, no. Are you ready to watch this game from the perspective of a Bears fan watching the Washington Commanders play offense, knowing that Cliff Kingsbury is going to be our head coach next year? And he goes, that's so stupid. I'm not going to. He calls me back at halftime. I was like, yeah, maybe. And this guy's about as stubborn and gung-ho as it gets. He's like, yeah, I don't like it, but this ain't it. I'm like, no kidding.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be my continued hot take for this week. Is like, Cliff Kingsbury. Again, you got the Caleb connection. He was a previous head coach, which is something that experience works really well with the Bears front office. Dynamic offense works well with the young quarterback. Blah 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 blah. It's just starting to line up more clear for me now, and I don't know if I like it or not yet, but it's just starting to feel that way.
Yeah. I could definitely see very, very much a coaching change, but yeah, I could see the Cliff Berry thing. He seems to like the young quarterbacks. He seems to work well. I mean, obviously he's got all the experience in the college system, so we'll see what happens. We'll see again. If I want to say my preseason prediction, we'll have to go back and check the archive. I think my preseason prediction was Flus doesn't make it through the year.
You said midseason firing, which I thought might be justified, but I don't think it's going to happen just because I know how fucking soft the ownership is.
Sure.
I'm not going to say it's not warranted for sure.
Yeah. Because you don't want to end up in a situation like the New York Jets where they let go of Saleh and what a poverty franchise, man.
And they lost to the Patriots without May. Drake May went out halfway through the game with a concussion, and they still lost, dude. They lost to Jacoby Brissett. How just like nauseating is that? I mean, it was still a close game, but like, what the hell are we talking about? It was 25-22 in regulation.
Yeah. Crazy week of the NFL. I wish I could have just sat on the couch for every single game because it seemed like it was a great week for the NFL. I mean, fantasy scoring was off the charts this week.
Oh, yeah. Lamar almost pulled off a comeback. Jameis got his first win against Lamar.
Dude, Jameis getting his win. Love that.
Detroit went off for 52. Tua comes back and they lose by 1 point against Arizona. Like we just said, New England beat the Jets. What else? Green Bay and Jacksonville went down to the wire 27-27, and Green Bay kicked a winner. What else?
On the back of Malik Willis, no less.
which is wild. Yeah. And did you see? So I don't know if you saw this or not, but we know that Love went down with a knee earlier in the year. And like, there's this weird, like, as he releases the ball, he's kind of settling down. And then 44 Jackson like puts his shoulder in his back, and then all of a sudden his knee ankle area is like tweaked.
Yeah, they're saying it's a groin thing.
Oh wow, I haven't got on the Twitter yet. That's crazy.
Well, I just based on the broadcast, that's what they were saying, which is different than the knee he's been dealing with for pretty much the entire season. But no, enough of that butt fucker. Let's talk about the Vikings.
Are you ready for this? So it's Thursday night, short week. They just came off a loss. Rams, we're not sure if Cooper should play, Cooper Kupp should play, Nakua maybe, but they both end up playing. You're going into this feeling what?
I went into it saying this feels like such a classic trap game for the Vikings. Yeah. One we should win, we're going to lose. And man, I couldn't have been more wrong. This isn't a trap game at all. They are. It was an even playing field with Cooper Kupp and Puka back. I thought they would probably just be slow. Like I didn't think they were going to be as impactful, especially Puka Nakua, as they were. They just looked fresh. They looked like they just had a 6-week vacation. They didn't look like they were hampered at all.
Especially honestly in their blocking, they were like bats out of hell.
They were dogs,
just engaging. That was really what led to Kyren Williams' big game too. I mean, they both had fantasy games. Statistically, they both had 17, 18, 19 point games. Kyren went off too, so I'm with you there. Fresh blocking too, especially halfway again, week 8. I
should not have called it a trap game, because that's putting disrespect on the Rams. They're more talented than that, and
are they back? When healthy, are they not back? But like they're in the hunt,
I'm still just so confused that we couldn't get to Stafford. Like even forget the receivers. Like their line's been terrible. Going into the year, it was like maybe their weakest point, and then they got riddled with injuries. And so I just don't know how. I mean, I guess he was getting the ball out fast, but still, we didn't sack him one time. We didn't get one sack, and maybe that's just a savvy vet knowing that pressure's coming, knowing what his reads are when it's gonna be quick releases. But then, I guess I didn't study the defense that close, but you'd think you'd see more of those. You know, I'm thinking back to the play where it was Andrew Van Ginkel intercepted Aaron Rodgers when we played the Jets. Andrew Van Ginkel, our outside linebacker, he acts like he's rushing for a second and then drops out right into the spot. He knows Rodgers is going to go for that quick release when he thinks pressure's coming. I didn't see any of that. I didn't see any of that disguised coverage. Not to say it didn't happen. Maybe it was just ineffectual. But it just nothing we were doing seemed to work. We were playing that. Again, it was like a throwback to Ed Donatel defense where every time they complete a pass, there's 3 defenders near the guy, but they're all 5 yards away. It's like they're trying to rally
ball. Yep.
And the one time that I saw we actually played man, we got burnt for a touchdown. Just man on man outside, and Stafford kind of throws it up in the corner of the end zone, and the receiver makes a play. And it just seemed like nothing our defense was doing was working. And again, this is something I've said for 3 weeks, even when we were undefeated. What was I saying I needed to see to have more confidence in this team? I needed to see the offense bail the defense out for once.
Yes. And
this would have been a perfect game for that, and they couldn't do it. For a second week in a row, the offense couldn't make up for the defense having a down game. Now,
well, and that's the thing. It's not that down for most of the game. I mean, you think about it, you talk about, I'm going to give you that was like midway through the third quarter, I texted you, like, Darnold's having a near perfect game. I mean, he's at 124, he's got 200, he's got 2 touchdowns. I mean, like, they're doing everything on offense that they're being asked to do. Now, it wasn't dominant or take over, but it's exactly the way that they game planned that game, in my opinion. And so, to the point of the defense, very much like the Bears, like, you really are an asshole. If you're thinking here pompously, I'm going to sit here and ask the defense to do more. You can't do that. But I want to ask you, and we kind of led this into the pregame talk from last weekend. Do you think that the defensive shortcoming was, I'm going to lead this into this too, was more a scheme or a team? Like, was it just the play calling, or was it more the lack of talent? That I'm going to preface it with this. First 3 games, you won by 22, won by 6, and won by 27. Then week 4 in Green Bay, you won by 2. You will beat the Jets in London by 6, had a bye week, lost by 2, and then lost by 10. So it seems to me like the first couple of games, especially those first couple of games, they did have the benefit of defensive touchdowns. Is Flores getting figured out? Is the talent improving? Could be a little bit of both. Like, where do you see the shortcoming for the defense not to be able to maintain their stability of play?
Well, now I don't know if I have a good answer for you, but what's striking to me is we saw this exact same thing happen last year where the defense was really hot. And then around the mid-late point of the season, people were like, Flores' defense got figured out. And then it just wasn't as effective as it was. And so you could almost make the same argument. Maybe all these crazy disguises are being studied and figured out, but it's like, was his defense, is it that much different than what we saw last year? No, it looks very similar. So why wasn't it figured out week 1? Like they had all of last year to look at. To be honest with you, I don't think it's a talent thing. I think our outside linebackers are great. We had a great free agency. I mean, Van Ginkel, obviously he's been doing great. He's got a couple tutties on the year. He's playing great. Yep. Bernard slotting in as a great replacement for Danielle Hunter. Is he Danielle Hunter? No. But like he's a fine replacement. He's an impact player.
Cashman's been solid when healthy.
Yeah, which we've lost the 2 games he hasn't been in. Maybe he has a bigger impact on the game than we're realizing. You know, and maybe it's the outside corners being older guys, not who we thought we were going to have going into the season. Gilmore looked rough. Something I remember I said early on in one of our. Earlier, I said early in the season, it's like you don't hear his name called at all, so he must be doing a good job as a cornerback. Right. Could not say that against the Rams. He was getting straight up bullied. I think he did make one good pass breakup, but by and large, he had a rough game. So all that is to say, I don't think talent is the issue. I would chalk it up more than anything to a short week. It seemed like a short week. Defense maybe was aching. Maybe they were just a little slow. I'll take a personal example from my life today. Me and Sally hit the tennis courts today. And I just felt, I'll preface this with, she killed me. Usually I win most of the time. She killed me today. And as soon as I was running around, I was like, man, my knees and my ankles, I feel like I'm just like they're a little sore or they're a little inflamed or something. Like I don't have like the springiness I usually have. Like just physically, I felt off. And, you know, I'm hitting the balls over, like I'm hitting them out of bounds constantly. And it almost felt like one of those games for the defense where maybe physically they just were off. And like their bodies weren't ready to go and compete. And maybe the Rams were, especially when you see, when you call out how physical Puka and Cooper Kupp are.
Yep.
You know, I think if more than anything, it's a short week thing. I think next week is going to be a very, very telling week for the Vikings.
100%. I got to take that right there. So you're absolutely right for a different reason is that the statistics so far, this has been since Dan Campbell's been a coach in Detroit, that this season alone, the 2024-2025 season, opponents who play the Detroit Lions are 0-5 the next week. They just lost. The Vikings just made it 0-6.
Yep. Yeah, and that could be like Detroit's a great team. Maybe
the short week factor.
You fully exert yourself against a really, really hard team, and you just don't have as much gas in the tank on Thursday. You know, that's the game where, you know, you listen to Hard Knocks or you watch the receiver show or the quarterback show. You know, you play on Sunday, Monday you get your day off. Tuesday you're practicing at 50% speed. Like most of these guys aren't even feeling 100% until Friday or Saturday. Like Thursday is when they don't feel like they've been hit by a bus anymore, but they're still pretty sore. So
absolutely,
I think that could have played into it again, and that's what makes me say I think next week will be very telling. We'll have the flip side of that where now we'll be more well rested. You get some extra time to let that body recover. And not only will that be very telling, but seeing how we can perform without Christian Darrisaw is going to be the other piece of that puzzle. Yep. I think there's a lot of people talking online. Our current left guard, Blake Blandell, played left tackle all through college. A lot of people are saying, hey, move him over to left tackle, put Dalton Reisner in at left guard. He hasn't played yet this season. He played quite well for us last season. He's kind of been our reserve fill in anywhere offensive lineman type of guy. He's been kind of like injured. I don't know exactly what he's been dealing with. So I hear a lot of people saying put Brandell in at left tackle. Quessenberry, the guy that did slot in for Darisaw when he went down, didn't look great. So we'll see how the offensive line holds up, and if it doesn't hold up, it'll be interesting to see how the ginger slings it.
Yeah, Sam Darnold. So that's okay. Let's roll with that for a second. I want to talk about next week. You got the Sunday night game against Indianapolis at home. Now, I want to take a chance to manipulate this in my favor, and I want to see what you think. The Vikings have 3 games coming up in a row, 9, 10, 11. You have at home versus Indianapolis. You have away at Jacksonville and away at Tennessee. 3 cream puff perceived matchups from the same division. So do you think, because right now you're 5-2, it could be 8-2, could be 7-3, could be 6-4, not likely 6-4. With that, I drew a comparison at the beginning of the pod to the 13-3 hollow record there that we had with Cousins, because you guys held the 1-score games.
Yep.
We're starting to get in the 1-score game territory with y'all, but lesser competition. Do you think in 3 weeks from now we're going to be talking all high and mighty? They could be good, but they'll lose, or we're trying to figure out who they are again. Where do you see that 3-game stretch kind of taking them, knowing that it looks on paper pretty favorable?
It totally depends what the Vikings put on tape there. I'll say this: looking at the Colts, this should be a bloodbath for Anthony Richardson. Like this Brian Flores defense should give Anthony Richardson fits. Anthony Richardson should have his see and goes game like Darnold did for the Jets.
Yes.
Like he should have, and he's not performed well at all this season. And flip side of that, if Anthony Richardson comes out and has a great game and the Vikings lose, it's time to smash that panic button as a Vikings fan.
Trade for Stafford immediately.
Either that or just like trade away pieces and try and build up the draft capital, because we have very little draft capital next year. We have like a 1st, a 3rd, a 5th, and a 7th. It's paltry. Coming out of that,
Turner in the game would be worth it, but we got time for that.
Yeah, we'll see. I think it's largely the reports, and what's been hinted is just he's had trouble picking up the scheme. Plus, we got Andrew Van Ginkel, Grenard, and Pat Jones, who are all like top 25 in the league in sacks, right? They're all playing really well, so it's hard to justify getting him in, especially when he goes in and he doesn't make the most of that opportunity. He makes some mistakes. As far as that 3 schedule stretch, I think it's extremely possible we go 3-0 through the next 3. As always in this league, you got to wait and see. You got to see what happens. It's a any given week type of league. So it'll be very telling. Like, we should be able to put these cream puff teams away. I'll even take it if it's a 1-score win. Lord knows the NFL doesn't love blowouts unless you're the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, let's talk more about the LA Rams Vikings game. There is one thing that I noticed I haven't seen talked about anywhere on the internet. I might be the only person that noticed this. I don't know how I could have been the only person that noticed this, but the only person that no one's talking about this. Aaron Jones had like 100% of the running back touches. I don't think Ty Chandler touched the ball one time. He had 0 yards.
After the game last week, though, I can see why. And you're absolutely right. He had 19 for 58 yards, and then Darnold had 3 for 6.
Ty Chandler's not even on this.
There were no running back catches. Jefferson, Jones, Oliver Addison, Naylor, Munt, and Sherfield Sr. So, yeah, you're absolutely
what's
right.
That about?
It was a punt return.
And so I'm just like, question mark. Like, what happened? Like, maybe if you're looking at it positively, Aaron Jones must just be feeling good. The coaching staff is like, hey, we love Aaron Jones. He's like he's got that little extra something, even though I think he's 30. It is surprising me. Like, they didn't even spell him with Ty Chandler at all. And it's like, what is going on with Ty Chandler? That's
kind of crazy.
It's kind of crazy. I don't see anyone talking about this online.
Great call out, because you guys had like 7 minutes less. So 26 to 33 minutes of time on task, time of possession. You had 40 less rushing yards. That's really interesting. Let me see if I can find a snap count here while you keep talking there.
That's where I was gonna go next. Is like, I might have only seen him on the field for like 5 plays. And I don't know that he was pass blocking for any of them. I think he went out for decoy routes. So that's an interesting thing to keep an eye on because sentiment was pretty positive on Ty Chandler going into the season, even early this season. So that 100%. Was a strange one for me. What else is there? Absolute glazing of the LA Rams by the announcers. That's how I knew that's how I knew we were in trouble. Dude, these guys didn't even know Darrisaw's name. They kept calling him Darrishaw. Like, you guys don't even know who Christian Darrisaw is. They said Darrishaw like 3 or 4 times in the broadcast.
Tackle in the league.
And I'm like, oh no, like it almost seemed like the broadcast team were like, we're told like, hey, this is gonna be the Rams game. Like, prepare to talk about the Rams. And don't worry about it. And I'm glad we're doing this like 3 days after, because if we would have recorded this right after the Vikings game,
Daddy would have been hot.
I can be honest. I can be honest about it now. I was like, that last call. I'll be real honest. I didn't see the face mask on the last call until they replayed it either.
I did. Yeah.
I didn't see it on the live play. I thought there was like 1 or 2 questionable calls that like extended drives for the Rams. But then you go online and people start showing all these clips and all these examples, and all of a sudden I'm like, hey, yeah, this is fucking bullshit. This is bullshit. Dude, the fix was in. This is fucking dog shit.
No, you guys got the group think going on there too. Because I saw it live. I'm like, yeah, that's a bad no call. And then they started addressing it. But it's like, honestly, the way the momentum of the game was going, especially going into that last 2 or 3 drives, it's like, there's no way even you get that 15 yards to get out of your end zone. It's like, you are not going to convert that for a touchdown. You are not going to bring.
I mean, maybe, dude. There's like a minute and a half on the clock. We had a timeout.
Maybe, dude. But like, there's no way. Like, you're just not going to come back 10 points.
There's a way.
Yes, there's a way, man.
No. We weren't down 10 points. We weren't down 10 points. We were down 8 points.
Like, I didn't see you driving the field for the touchdown. I did not see it. And then converting.
And to be fair, I did not
think you're going.
What was my prediction at the time? I was telling Sally, I'm like, we're gonna drive down, get that touchdown, and we're gonna miss the 2-point conversion. That's what's gonna happen. This is how we're gonna lose the game.
That's like your new version of the kicker shank, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, think of the low probability of that. I'll give you the one real quick call back here. So Aaron Jones had 46 snaps, which is 90% of the running back snaps. CJ Ham was next with 8 at 16%, and Ty Chandler had 2 for 4% of the running back snaps.
Crazy.
For a total of 56 snaps.
He wasn't on the injury report at all. Like, what is that about?
Yeah, because he was in the doghouse last week too. I mean, a little bit week prior to the bye week. Excuse me.
It just makes me wonder if there's just small personal stories going on that we don't see. Like, the staff can just tell, like, he's like been showing up to practice high or drunk or something. They're like, okay, we're not going to report this, but like, you're not going to do it. Like, you're not going to play.
Shout out my sprinkler guy. He came to close out my sprinklers this week. He came in like smelling like the whole chimney. He hotboxed his truck. He came in. He left after 20 minutes, 30 minutes. My dog smelled like weed because he came in there smelling them.
God damn.
Loving him up. And I was like, oh, dude, it's Thursday. I'm so jealous at 9 o'clock in the morning. Let's go, dude.
Jeez, that's crazy.
All right, so I want to pose it to you this way as we're talking about the next 3 weeks. You guys have a relatively favorable schedule. Maybe the Bears do too. The Bears have Cardinals and New England the next 2 weeks, weeks 9 and 10. And then we go into our divisional play, which is going to I can't remember. Does it start with Green Bay or maybe Detroit? I don't know. Either way, it feels like we're on 2 different trajectories, but.
Really? Because it seems like we're on the same trajectory and it's going down.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess the Bears trajectory in my mind, yeah, they're 4-2, but to me, it feels like 1 step up, 1 step down. We won the games we were supposed to.
You're taking 2 steps forwards, 1 step back.
Yeah, just about. Like, this was more deflating because you had 2 convincing wins. You were doing some of the things you haven't done in a couple of decades, and it felt like, okay, maybe you don't win this game. I thought they could have and probably should have. But maybe you don't win this game against the Commanders, but at least you know what you're fucking about, right? And typical Bears, you leave a game like that with more questions than answers, and you're just like, what the fuck? So my point being, we have Arizona, which is a very winnable game. Talented, but very winnable. Not reputably coached well.
Yeah.
And then you got New England. And that's 2 weeks, and then we go into our divisional play at home versus Green Bay, and then we follow up with Minnesota. We both teams having our struggles and our gripes right now, week 8, could be trending positively, but then I think both of them have the opportunity to be like, oh, well, wait, we play each other week 12. November 24th at noon. What do we think we're going to be thinking about our teams and the other teams then? I mean, is it really going to be a circle jerk of like, Minnesota's hot, they're 3 in a row, but are we going to be like, wait, no, this is definitely 2022 where they're winning hollow?
I'll tell you.
Or is there something they're going to learn about themselves?
I'll tell you
like,
exactly where we're going to be at the end of the season.
Hit me.
Both the Vikings and the Bears are going to be 9-8 teams. Whoever plays later on the last week of the season is going to have the destiny in their hands, and they'll finish 9-8. And whoever's got the tiebreaker will go into the wild card and have a first round loss.
Well, you guys are going to be now at noon game at Detroit, and we're going to be a noon game at Green Bay. So you might have just nailed
my schedule says TBD for the time of the Vikings-Lions game, so we could be later.
It could be, yeah. It could. I mean, I think all 17 and 18 games are technically TBD. But
we're both going to be 9-8 teams.
For it, yeah.
We're going to be 9-8 teams. Only one of us are making it into the wild card. That's my prediction at this point.
Playoffs start week 11. I mean,
yeah, when you start playing the
Minnesota,
NFC,
Detroit, San Francisco, Minnesota, Detroit, Seattle, Green Bay. It's like that's all.
That's so wild.
We're gonna have 8 playoff games in a row. Once you guys hit week 12 is us. You got the Bears and you got Arizona, Atlanta, Chicago again. You have 4 games. Well, that could be whatever. Seattle could be the 5th game, whatever. You finish the last 2. You guys finish with home versus Detroit and then home versus Green Bay and then at Detroit. So that back half of the schedule, I know we talked about it being favorable for Caleb Williams to get a couple of easier games the first half of the season, but I mean, that's going to be fucking brutal, man. I could just be saying, throw in the towel. What did I say? Week 5, I started calling for Kingsbury to be the coach. I don't want him to be the coach for the Bears. It just seems like it's going to happen. I might be saying that every week now till you guys may be sick of it for the next 9-10 weeks.
It's probably good odds on that, and I would take him. I could see it 100%. Caleb and Kingsbury just seems like a match made in heaven for some reason.
I guess. I mean, that's where, okay, so back to the game real quick, and it's more of an overarching thing, I suppose, specific to the game. It's just more talking about the matchup of Commanders and Bears. Back and forth in my mind of like, I fucking hate just how schemy and just cutesy that offense is and how it's one side of the field, 1-2, throw.
Wait, which offense you talking about?
For the Commanders, excuse me. And it feels very similar to what Nagy was in style, maybe not in route concept. And that's probably what half my PTSD is. But then I'm battling that part. It's like schematically, it's not that complicated. You just, like on either side of the ball, you simplify it. The guys get to play fast on offense. They get to play fast on defense. You simplify things. They're not thinking as much. You're playing faster. Got it. I like that. I hate that it's schemy because it's kind of cringy for me for a guy who likes the chess of the game. But the other part of me is conflicted. It's like, fuck it. It's working. They're averaging 30 points a game.
It works until it doesn't.
No one's figured out. Well, someone's going to figure out. And that's the thing we've been talking about before. It's like Flores' defense. It's really aggressive, but once you figure out how to beat aggressive, you just go at the blitz. Once you can identify the blitz and get enough tape on it to get some tendencies and understand what you're looking at, it's not that hard. And Jared Goff proved it. Matt Stafford proved it. So when are we going to get to the point with Kingsbury offense? And if we don't, if nobody figures out Kingsbury defense, obviously, or offense defensively, because he's been evolving, having been a coach before, he could end up as a head coach somewhere again next year. And it's like, I don't know how to handle that. I think I come to Jesus mode. He's like, get over it, fuck it, because ultimately wins come first. And the Bears haven't won enough recently or at all to have the moral high ground. I was like, that's not how you play football. That's not how you win. Fuck it, a win's a win. I don't like how it looks, but they're winning games. So that's going to be my battle, I think, for the next couple of weeks, especially when we get out schemed. Not from a coaching perspective, but just like, oh, that was creative and cute, not the way I'm used to watching football. Yeah. So I don't really know what I feel yet. I just know I'm uncomfortable.
I have a tangent thought to go off that because talking about Jaden Daniels, talking about Caleb Williams, I was thinking about this whole trend of franchises drafting quarterbacks first round and starting them right away. And I was like, I saw a decent chunk of the Jaguars game. And Trevor Lawrence didn't look great either. And I was just thinking about it, and I was like, when was the last time this has worked out really well? When you drafted your quarterback and Patrick Mahomes is what I thought. Like, have we been trying to replicate?
Sat behind Alex Smith
for like a year, 2 years, maybe 2 years?
One season, which honestly is what you've got going on here. You've got a underwhelming high draft pick that is resurrecting his career. So you guys have that thing where it's giving the guy a chance to just kind of learn how to take notes and learn how to be a pro and no pressure and lots of talent around him.
So
I don't want to do that because fuck the Vikings, but like, if history's going to repeat itself, it might be.
I would love it. I never wanted JJ to play a snap this season anyway. Before
I don't think any rookie quarterback should play first year period ever. I know that's not the business, but just like talking ball.
So I have two thoughts going off this idea. One is it's just like these front offices have the strategy completely backwards, and it's because people love the excitement of the rookie quarterback, but it's like the rookie quarterback should be like the last thing you're investing in. In my mind, you invest in the trenches first. If you're doing a rebuild, right, you're doing a straight up rebuild. You invest in the trenches first. You build up the D-line talent. You build up the offensive talent. Next year, get some offensive weapons. Next year, get your rookie quarterback. Let him sit a year. Let him sit 2 years if you can. But it's like, you look at, take the Panthers as a good example. Then people like the rookie quarterback contract. But again, look at the Panthers. They drafted Bryce Young thinking he would turn everything around. It's like, you have no other pieces. You're setting him up for failure.
Well, they also traded away McCaffrey, and they traded away DJ Moore. They traded away the Panthers. Not only did they have nothing in the cabinet, they threw the old Tupperware and plastics away too. Not to say that insulting the players, but I was like, holy shit, they really let the owner do that one. Bryce threw for 225 and
he did okay.
Today, 2 picks too. But anyway, continue. Sorry.
Second idea coming out this. Not even the Panthers, but second idea coming just off this thought of like this trend of everyone drafting these rookie quarterbacks, starting them right away. I think they're going to have to change the strategy with these rookie quarterbacks. And where I could see this trend going is if you're going to do that and you're going to start them right away, you need physical quarterbacks that can run. And I think they're being underutilized in the run game because it's just like, you're not playing to these rookies' strengths. Like, you need to build an offense early, with the anticipation that they'll scale up their understanding of the game. And when they scale that up and things slow down, then you can get the offense more evolved. And maybe this is why it's working for Jaden Daniels. I don't know too much about how the commies have been playing things, but it's like I think you need to bring a rookie in, give him a 2-read system, and then run 2 reads, run to the sideline.
That's what that is. That's what the commies are doing. Whereas, like for the Bears, that's a full field read. He's getting audibles at the line. I would imagine, I haven't watched many Denver Broncos games, but I imagine Bo Nix has a full field read.
He ran a ton last week. Yeah, I didn't watch him this week. He ran a ton last week.
He could be choosing to run, but the way that Sean Payton runs that offense, I mean, it's a pretty complex, cerebrally demanding offense. So
yeah, it's like why throw a rookie quarterback into that? Like you're not setting him up for success.
Because you're going to have to learn my system anyway. We know we're not a good team. We're going to tank this first year, and you're going to fucking get your reps. You're going to get not practice reps. You're going to get live in-game reps. And next year is what we're all in on 2025, not this year. This year we all have already pushed it into the middle as a growing experience, right?
Yeah. All right. Any last thoughts or questions on the Vikings? Otherwise, let's keep it moving. You had one.
Yeah, it was more or less that we're going to have the same feeling in a couple of weeks where it's going to be hollow. It's like, really, we beat some bad teams. I do want to shout out number 8. Jared Verse is coming along.
He's good.
I mean,
I hated seeing it because it made me feel worse about Dallas Turner.
and from a defensive perspective, as a fan, the power pass rusher is not a sexy thing, but man, he's fucking
he manhandled the backup a few times, including on that last play.
100. Well, yeah, that too. 100%. Shouts to 8, 9, 10, 17 on the Rams. The running back did good. The whole O-line, that was my comment, is that the lack of pressures for the Vikings D was crazy. I kind of got a chance to watch in the Vikings game. This is kind of my last point for the Vikings. I mean, 71 was brutal to have that go down. You didn't notice him because he was doing so good, and then you noticed it immediately. But 44 was playing Cashman's linebacker position most of the game. And so we were talking about that last week, and I hadn't really noticed what the deal was. Like, why is Metellus not flashing in the box score, like impact plays like we had used to? But seeing him play that off weak side linebacker Cashman play, it was just good to notice. And obviously you put a linebacker that's inexperienced against all of the motions and an experienced quarterback like Stafford, you're not going to see much. He didn't get destroyed. And then, so I think that part, I figured that out. Once learning what he was doing, it made it a lot easier to understand why he's not popping since, because it was the last 2 games, maybe 3 that Cashman's been out to watch him feel for that. So
I got two hot takes off of that one. Vikings hot takes. I guess it's just one, but 2 players. I think Josh Metellus and Ivan Pace are just wildly overrated. There's a ton of positive sentiment. More so for Ivan Pace. Like he came in undrafted rookie out of Cincinnati last year.
It's the story.
Like even in training camp, people were like, "Whoa, this kid's insane! Like he's blown up." He overtook Brian Asamoah, who was like supposed to be in that position. He'd been there for 2 years already.
Okay.
All I ever see is Ivan Pace make mistakes. Like
I see him by the ball. Okay, that's interesting.
He's got his moments. Like he's physical. He gets to the ball, but like he gets burnt in coverage all the time, and he doesn't get to the quarterback as much as I feel like he should be getting to him. And then Josh Metellus, same thing. He's serviceable. Like if I gave him a Madden rating, I'd give him like an 80. But people talk about him like he's a 90. And it's just I don't think he's that good. Like when Harrison Smith retires next season and he takes his place, like I think we're gonna see a noticeable decrease in our defense. I don't think he's a Harrison Smith. I think he's good. I don't think he's like as great as people talk about him with. So those are my 2.
I think it's the bias of that is like to use the Madden rating example, when you have a 58 that goes on and gets a sack, fumble for a touchdown. Oh, he should be an 80. So like you're more dealing, not that he's a 90, but you're more dealing with like the 25 point disparity. Like, oh, well, last year he was a 58. Now he's an 80. It's like, well, he must be a stud. It's like, no, he's still like a silver star, whatever.
Yeah.
So I think it's that. And then because they're undrafted or they're low ranked, that they become the hometown hero, and that's like a fan favorite. And then of course, we all know that every franchise's fan is very rational and reasonable and knows the sports well. So
of course, completely rational and unbiased and not emotional in their takes at all.
To me, I'm gonna leave with these 2. I'm gonna have 1 point and 1 question. That's gonna be a point. Well, there's a question first. So I'm gonna ask you this: given that it's Thursday and what we talked about, McVay and OC knowing each other, it felt to me like 20-30 final. Both quarterbacks played well. It felt to me on both sides of the ball, both offenses are the reason that the game had its flow, meaning throughout the game, both offenses either were successful or did not execute, more so than the defense caused problems or overtook or influenced the game. What's your take on
that? Maybe not a direct answer, but it did bring to mind something else I wanted to talk about was we saw the same thing from the Vikings offense that we've seen all season. They start hot for like the first 2 drives, first 14, 15 plays.
Good script.
They're incredible. As soon as we hit the snag, we just don't get our mojo back. And it's really weird. Is at the end of our scripted plays. It's just weird. I don't know what to make of it.
Because you see both quarterbacks had a passer rating of 124 or better.
Again,
it's like they're not making mistakes. It's just like, so on your guys' offense, it's not that you don't have pop plays. You had 3 guys with plays of 25 or more. It's really, what do you think offensively? They've done what they're asked to do. Do they need to be asked to do more, which might be more risky and unstable? Do they need to go for, instead of 20-yard plays, maybe shooting for 40-yard plays? Is it, my opinion is that they'd be able to do more on demand than just consistently. What is that? I mean, I haven't figured out the feeling.
Here,
where are you at?
Let me hit you with a statistic, and I don't know it specifically, but it's something like when Kevin O'Connell has been coaching the Vikings, when he wins the turnover battle, he's got like a 90% win rate when he wins the turnover battle. I think how that trickles down into the quarterback is he stresses don't throw interceptions. And as a result, we get complacent once we score a couple touchdowns. And then it's just like, okay, we can't. It's almost like we can't do the plays that got us there. Like, maybe, even though those plays that got us there aren't that risky, but it's like the quarterback just becomes too scared to throw anything but a high percentage throw. I feel like maybe that could be the words from the coach. It's like only throw high percentage throws. Like if you're not sure, don't throw it. Because I feel like that could result in a lot of those not double pumps, but double clutches. Where it's like you see Sam Darnold, he's like he wants to, and then he pulls it back because he's like, oh, it's a close game. Like I don't want to throw an interception because we lose when we turn the ball over.
That's so interesting because I have a take on that too, and it's going to be contradictory, but the same vein. So stick with me to understand that a little bit better. Now we have a defensive coach, and his philosophy with Justin Fields is, and it seems to be the same with a different offensive coaching staff and a different quarterback being Caleb Williams, is that his thing was the 20-0-0, and it was 200 passing yards, no sacks, no turnovers. That's what I want out of my quarterback. And it's like, really? Okay, I understand.
That's what Flu said?
Yeah, he's been very, very vocal on that with Justin. He's tailored it back a little bit this year, but we can see in the style of play that that's pretty much the same ask. And it's under the same vein. It's like being a defensive head coach, he's very much like, I need 3 turnovers. I need X amount of sacks in the game. And if I can just let my defense go out there and ball out, offense, just do not fuck this up for me. Like, please, like really, I'll play my game and we'll coach it this way. And then they're trying to get an identity, but it's just not. The offensive side of the ball does not have the offensive line to do that. They have, in my opinion, this is sacrilegious. We have the playmakers to compete with the offenses of Green Bay, of Detroit, of Minnesota. We don't have the line to sustain it. We have the one play pop guys.
But bootleg them, get them out on the, get them out in the open field.
100%. Make plays in space. Everybody, but. To hear you say a very similar control the game, win the turnover battle. I mean, okay. Every coach is going to say that. We know that.
Yeah.
But it's especially unique to watch it happen on the field and be like, well, okay, so Darnold 18-25, 240, 2 touchdowns, 128 passer rating, but really didn't look like he did much in that game. He just kind of nonchalantly within rhythm did the right throw, or instead of like taking a shot, he just took the safer thing and the offense progressed down the field. That feels exactly the way a defensive coach would want to do it. And we think that's crazy because KOC does a really good job of scheming up, especially those intermediate level throws that we see the deep crossers. We see the sideline catches between Addison. Also, what was that free Addison post about? Is that
apparently he's been saying free 3 for a long time. It's just his catchphrase. Apparently it's not supposed to be dramatic, but you got to wonder, Johnny Munt's getting more catches than him.
Devontae went for a 3rd. What's his nuts went for a 5th and conditional something else, Amari Cooper, and then whoever the 3rd one was that just went, who knows, who cares? Hawkins is coming back. Addison's going to be irrelevant.
Yeah,
not really. Right. I mean, it really should be balanced. But anyway, that's my thing to see very interesting with the offense defensive coach mindset. The fact that that's KOC is known for offense to have that similar conservative mindset because you need that pop on offense, especially the way you guys play games.
Need that MCDC.
There you go.
Okay, my headset's give me a beep that it's running out of batteries, and I don't know where the charging cord is. But you were going to ask me one more question about the Vikings, summing up the week. If you don't remember it, I'll ask it myself because I had a great answer for it.
I did ask a couple more than I thought I was. What question do you think I was going to ask?
Before we started recording, you said sum up the Vikings game in 3 words.
Yes. Oh, yes. Please give me the 3-word summary. Hyphenated do count as 1 word.
Won't need them, but I got a great 3-word summary for this game. Right on schedule. As in 5-2, we're right on a Minnesota Vikings trajectory right here. We're gonna finish that season 9-8. Either us or you guys are gonna squeak into the wild card. We're right on schedule.
All right, I like that one, and the mine one's just coming with no surprise. It's need and identity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's it in a nutshell. Watching, you got some fun plays both sides of the ball. You're in games. You're kind of trying to figure out what's what. Guess what? As a fan that watches every single week, we're still trying to figure out what's what too. And you don't have anything to lean on. Nothing you can pose. Nothing that's convincing. It's all just kind of which is it gets your heart rate going, but it's really nothing that you can count on, which is really what you want out of your team. So yeah, need an identity.
Yeah. Well, great. We're running a little long. Let's close out with fantasy. Selfishly, I want to talk about fantasy because I have good news.
Send it.
Early in the season, I was like, my teams are dead in the water. Not going to be my year for fantasy. Okay. But you know what? I'm sacrificing them for a good Viking season. Seems like that relationship is extremely correlated because as soon as the Vikings started performing poorly, my fantasy teams started doing great. I had a perfect fantasy week this week. I've got all my games wrapped up before Monday night. 3 wins, locked up. Main league, paid league, 1/4. This is going to be a fourth win in a row. Work league, nice. Winning 3 straight. We're not as high as I want to be in the standings, but like we're doing pretty good. Family league, I just completely clobbered like a 9-year-old girl. So that's just the cherry on top.
Yeah, we're gonna leave that there, dude. There's too many. There's too many, dude.
I will say, interesting, just tidbit. I don't know that I've experienced this before. In my paid league, I had Jordan Love, and I was playing against Kyler Murray. In my work league, I was starting Kyler Murray, and I was playing Jordan Love. And I was like, hopefully it's just a wash between those two. But it ended up working out. I had Josh Jacobs in both leagues, which was great because he had a fantastic week. Yes, things are turning up for my fantasy teams. I'm happy.
I can dig that. Glad to hear it. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of mine, and then I ultimately have a roster move question for you, a potential trade proposal. So I'm 3-5. I'm going to be 3-5 in 2 leagues, not overly invested. I have a league where I'm currently fighting my little brother in a friends league for first place. And right now, I'm up 13 points, projected to win by 15. He has Dalvin Cook going tonight and Wan'Dale Robinson tomorrow. I have Malik Neighbors. The reason he has Dalvin Cook going is because he texted me this morning, and I just really is like, look, I don't care who wins this matchup as long as one of us wins the league. So I'm like, he's like, shoot me straight. Who would you play out of all these guys? I got Rico Dowdle, Madison, Jacoby Myers, or Coleman. I was like, I would play Dowdle. And so, all right, I'm going to play Dowdle.
Interesting. I would have played Madison out of that, or either Madison or Cook, but probably Madison.
So far, Coleman seems to be the play.
Really?
And then Dowdle, Coleman had 18 points in fantasy this week.
That's solid.
Madison had 9. Myers had 17. Cook has 2 in the third quarter right now.
Ooh.
Yeah. To replace Dowdle, and that was his thing. So 5:30 comes around. Everybody's done except for the Dallas. I'm like, well, I told him Dowdle. I was like, dude, you got to – he wasn't even going to look. I'm like, dude, you got to do something about this. Like, see what you can get. Anyway, I'm up 13. He's got Wan'Dale Robinson tomorrow. And Cook, I've got Neighbors to go. Projection is I'm going to beat him by 15 points. Feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, where the question comes in, I have my starting quarterback is the number 1 fantasy player in the league this year so far. Is Lamar Jackson. Yes. My backup is Kyler Murray. Had a good couple of weeks here. He's had a couple up and down weeks, but it's been pretty solid.
Shouldn't let Kyler Murray sit on your bench. That's trade value right there. I won my league the last 2 years because I drafted a good second quarterback and I flipped him for some good assets.
Well, that's exactly the position that I'm in. So I'm number 1 team. He's the number 2 team. His quarterback, he only has 1 roster quarterback, is Geno Smith. And he's gotten this far. Geno did not have a good week, so I'm hoping I can take advantage of that this week.
Can't trust Geno.
No. He's got Tyreek Hill. He was excited to get back in the lineup. He had a 13-point week. Okay. Wan'Dale Robinson, Saquon, Kyron Williams. K. Dotton had a 30-point game, 29.1.
Wait, who?
And then he also has K. Dotton, the tight end for Tampa Bay. He's
K. Dot. I thought you said K. Dot like Kendrick Lamar. I was like, huh?
Gotcha. No, I'm not that cool. I'm not that of the streets.
Side note, Sally in her work league, she's like, should I start K. Dotton or Sam Laporta? And I was like, Sam Laporta, he was the top tight end going into it. But like, I watched the end of that Buccaneers game last week, and he got targeted a ton. He got beat up a ton too. So like, I'm like, I don't know. He got like that.
Yeah, but with Godwin and Evans out, I mean.
And I was like, yeah, that's like cheeky. And I told her, this is what I told her. It's like, it depends on which outcome you can live with better. It's either you get cheeky and you play K. Dotton, and then he does shitty and Laporta does expected, and you're like, wow, I was being way too smart with this. Yep. Or you play Laporta and K. Dotton goes off, and you're like, man, I didn't trust my gut. And I was leading Laporta, and she's like, I think I'm going to start K. Dotton. I was like, that's probably fine. Like, it'll probably be a wash. And then I think it won her week. So shout out K. Dotton. K. Dot. I'm just going to call him K. Dot from now.
That's funny. So check your text. Maybe I can save us a little bit of time instead of reading the whole thing. So then he's out. So his running backs are Saquon, Kyron Williams, and Derrick Henry.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out. I was like, so what do you think would be potential trade bait? My team has Lamar, Neighbors, Brees Hall, Robinson, and Njoku, Swift. I'm trying to figure out what would make sense to go after from him, because I have some depth with some late bye weeks coming up. But
And he's got Derrick Henry too.
Yeah, and I like Derrick Henry. I don't know. I feel like Kyron Williams is the easiest one to trade for.
You think?
Well, out of Saquon's up there. He's the top 10, I think, or top 12.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Henry's
like number one. Hey, is he not the top running back right now in fantasy?
He's number 3 in the league, so very well could be the first running back. So to me, statistically, I think Kyron's number 7 player. So he's got the number 3, the number 7, and the number what is he?
Well, here I'll tell you this: you package Kyler Murray with Brees Hall, and you ask him which one of his starting running backs, he's willing to part with. That's what I would do.
See, I don't know if I'm ready to part with Brees Hall just yet.
You should part, dude. You should part with Brees Hall. I mean, he's kind of low. You're kind of selling low on him, but if you could get either Derrick Henry or Kyron or Saquon in return, like I think that's worth it. The Jets aren't going to be playing with a lead. I mean, maybe.
Which is why I think you get some volume there as a receiver. It's a full point PPR. Keep talking though. I mean,
why are you only trying to trade with your brother? I mean, there might be other options you could explore within the league. Because
this league does not. So okay, some guy puts a thing out before the season started. I have 6 receivers. Send me a running back. Okay, so I have, before we knew that Zamir White was trash, we knew he was the running back 1. I'm like, all right, well, I'll send you, a guy projected 11 points for a guy projected 13 points. So
are you thinking Kyler? Are you thinking Kyler for Madison? Because I think that favors him.
No, I think no. I'm more saying it was a fair offer, and people are like, no. You're gonna send me if you want DJ Moore, you're gonna send me Brees Hall. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking? Like,
yeah, that's
really.
I wouldn't do that.
Stupid. So it was more like, what would I package? Because I don't see myself sending a backup quarterback. If I'm making a trade because I'm number 1 in the league and I'm gonna win this week, I'm not trading for value. I'm trading for an impact player that's going to win me a week. So my thing is I'm trying to take my quarterback and package it with something to go up as opposed to down.
Absolutely. I mean,
so to that's kind of the mindset. And I
feel like we have a discrepancy on how good we think Brees Hall is going to be through the end of the year. Because I think if you need to take advantage of someone else thinking Brees Hall is going to have a good end of the year, I'm quite low on Brees Hall.
Matchups though, his matchups at the end of the day, he's got a week 12 bye. But when you hit the playoffs, week 13, he's got the 10th easiest. 14, he's got the 7th easiest. 15th, he's got the 6th easiest. 16th, he's got the 11th easiest. And then for the 17th, he's got the 2nd easiest run defense.
Well, would you rather trade Brian Robinson? Because basically what you're trying to do is upgrade.
Who's Brian Robinson?
Oh, you have Bijan.
I have Bijan Robinson and Brian Thomas.
Huh? Oh.
So I made honestly, I drafted so that my best players had middle of the strength to easiest strength projected for the playoffs.
I'll say, looking at this, he wants Kyler Murray. He definitely wants Kyler Murray. So you need to find a running back on your team you're willing to trade for a slight upgrade on his team.
Okay.
I mean, you could do Kyler, and I don't know if you'd want to trade Bijan.
Would you bite if I did Brees and Kyler for Saquon and Geno? Would that be too much?
Sorry, Kyler and Bijan.
Brees and Kyler.
For Saquon and Geno?
Yeah.
I'd simplify. I just leave Geno out of the equation. I'd rather take you can leave Geno in. I'd rather just take Jameis.
He's gonna have to drop
or not Jameis, but Jameis. I'd rather take Jameis out of free agency. But I think that's the trade. My first thought was Kyler and Bijan for Saquon. I don't know if I would do it for Again, I think you just need to talk to your brother and be like, hey, which one of these running backs are you most likely to trade
Because
between.
I'm not in on Derrick Henry. Just given it, like the end of the year, he's got a late bye because I have him. What would happen for me is I have Lamar and Derrick Henry on bye the last week of the regular season.
So
and that makes me uncomfortable if I'm not clearly making the playoffs, which I probably could, but I also want the first round bye. Because then his matchups, he's got to play the Giants, Pittsburgh, and Houston, which are good against the run. And so I'm also valuing matchups more.
Well, again, it depends on how your brother values his running backs.
Okay.
Because you have no idea. I mean, maybe you have an idea of how he values them, but like I personally would do that trade for you. I would trade Brees. Because essentially at that point, it's like Brees for Derek Henry, and then you're throwing in Kyler Murray, who you're not starting anyway. I would do that trade if I was you, but if you're not high on Derrick Henry, you could do that for Kyron or Saquon Barkley. So just ask him if he's down to part with either of those guys.
But that's where I'm at. I was like, so if you put Brees, Saquon, Kyron, Derrick Henry, like those four guys, they're all in that same top 4 or 5 running back. So it just seems like a lateral move to not really want.
Which how the hell did he end up with this team? What he went Tyreek. How did? Oh, this is the auction league because
so he went Saquon big, Tyreek Hill big, and he got Henry and Kyron for like cheap because he played the market well and he got away with murder. So for $200, he went Tyreek for 65. He got Derrick Henry for 34, which is a steal and a half. Kyron for 42 and Saquon for 42, and then the rest of his team is $4 and less.
Well, I'll say this because I never just send over a trade proposal. I always talk to the person first. And I've been successful at trade proposals. Pretty much every serious one I've sent, I think I've gotten like 80% of them accepted over the last 4 years. Talk to them and feel them out. See which person they're low on. And like, okay, if he is low on Derrick Henry, that makes things hard for you. But maybe he is low on Kyron or low on Saquon for some reason. But you got to tell him like, hey, Gino's killing you right now. You're going to lose because he didn't start Kyler. That's literally the language I used in my work league where I traded a few weeks ago. I traded Deebo Samuel, Vikings defense, and Rashad White for Josh Jacobs, Javonte Williams, and Tyrone Tracy Jr. And I told him, I was like, hey, because I told him his defense lost him the week. He lost by 2 points because whatever defense he had like went -1. And and to be fair, like maybe I'm taking advantage of him because he's a guy that like drafted his defense and is just going to play him every week. I take a different defense every week based off of free agency. Okay. And it worked out. It honestly worked out exactly how I planned it. I played him 2 weeks later. I started Javonte. He started Deebo last week. Deebo had the fucking flu. He didn't play. He started him. He didn't play. Javonte went off for like 25 points. I was like, ooh. I feel kind of bad, but like, when he accepted the trade, he's like, hold on. Yeah, ESPN says I'm going to like net more points from this. So like, I'll accept this trade. But I think you just talk to him and say, hey, which one of these running backs are you softest on? I want one of them. Like you have 3 good running backs. You have a shit quarterback. I have a good quarterback. Obviously, you probably want Kyler Murray, and I'm willing to package him with, Brees or Bijan or DeAndre.
I just had a thought, and this might be too aggressive, and that's just good. If we're going too far, we can wrap it up. But so this is my little brother. He's 8 years my junior. We view football similarly, and I believe he's got a soft spot for hometown guys. I think so. We had a conversation today, and he sent over a low ball, and I'm like, you know what? We're on the phone. I'm like, I don't know, and I played it off. I'm having a tough.
What was the low ball offer?
I don't even recall. He's like, do you want one of the running backs, or like, what do you want for? Like, he wasn't gonna put one of the running backs. I'm like, look, dude, I'm looking to make my roster better, not diversify. So like, we'll talk tomorrow, and you come prepared. If you want a package for this, I don't need to make a move. I'm not pushing to make a move. If you want to make a move, let's make a move. But you come just like, let me know what you think is fair offer because I know you're not gonna want to go in the playoffs with Geno Smith. Like, let's talk. And I'm putting this together. I'm thinking if I put Kyler and DeAndre Swift, I can probably go 2 for 1 for Kyron Williams, maybe Saquon.
Well, and I
could probably talk him into that because I'm not interested in Derrick Henry at that week 14 thing.
Well, and since he went so top heavy in the draft with his Bucks, he's lacking on depth a little bit. You could throw in Jordan Addison or Xavier Worthy as a sweetener.
That's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, okay, what about like Kyler, Brees, or let's say Kyler, DeAndre Swift, Xavier Worthy for Geno and Saquon, or Geno and Kyron. That seems reasonably fair. If I was him, I wouldn't.
Would it be better to not go quarterback, like pick up Jameis, like you said, and say, give me, okay, so what did you say? You said Swift, Worthy, Murray. You give me Saquon or Kyron and Hawkinson.
Oh, I don't think you'd want to give up Hawkinson. But
He's got Kate Otten, who just went for 30 points.
Okay,
so I'm trying to take advantage of that 30-pointer with no receivers the next couple weeks. I'm trying to take advantage of it.
You have to talk to him. You have to talk to him about it. You have to talk to him about it, because that's how I've accomplished all my trades. I'm like, which guys are you not attached to that maybe I'm a little higher on?
Yeah. I got to write down these options. Otherwise, my brain's just going to be like, I don't even remember. You're so right. All right.
Because
we'll give that a shot.
He's lacking on depth a little bit. I think you got to give up. I think this could be like a 3 for 3 or 3 for 2 or 3 for 1. But like, I think you should probably include like Addison or Worthy in it if you want that top tier guy like Saquon or Kyler. I think you need to throw that in as a sweetener, so he thinks he's getting the better of you, and you don't really need either of them, really.
Right. That's I agree.
I wouldn't start with that. If you're talking to him, I wouldn't start with that. I think it's like you get close, and if he's close, he's like, I'm just not sure. Then you throw Addison or Worthy into the equation, because he doesn't want to start Wan'Dale Robinson every fucking week either.
Is it worth talking about maybe throwing Tyreek in there instead?
Do you want Tyreek? I mean, I would want.
I want Tyreek? I mean, it's like they just got the first week back.
You mean Tyreek instead of one of those running backs? Because you're not going to get Tyreek and Kyron Williams.
Instead of. Yes, I'm not that big of an idiot. I'm just thinking about, because I also have the depth. I mean, I've got Brees Hall and Bijan. So if I'm going to get rid of my third running back, if that then makes
that feels like back? I feel like you're going to have to give up too much for that, because like your wide receivers are pretty solid, your running backs are pretty solid. Honestly, I don't even know. I don't know if that would make
the idea was to flip the backup quarterback. The idea was not to. If I'm going to give one of my starters up, then I need an increase there, because you're getting a better quarterback out of this, which is a better week over week turn of points.
Like your wide receiver through your flex, they're all solid starters. So all you need to do is take Kyler Murray and plus up one of those starters. It's like I don't want to trade Brian Thomas Jr. I don't want to trade Malik Neighbors. I don't want to trade Brees, Bijan. I don't love DeAndre Swift.
Because I'm looking at it like the real chip in mine is the quarterback. And if I got if I got to flip a 13-point starter for a 16-point turner, I'll throw in Kyler, which is your better quarterback, to get that. That's kind of the manipulation I'm going for. And if I got to throw in another 11-point, 10-point bench guy.
Well, see, and that's why I feel like you have to include Brees in it, because it's like you got to upgrade Brees, But
Brees is already at 18 points. He has no starter higher than 18 points.
But what has he performed at 18? What is his rank on the season? Is he like running back 20?
He's the 18th overall player.
Exactly. So you can turn him into a top 10 player with Kyler, which would be Saquon or Kyron or Derrick Henry. I know you don't like Derrick Henry, but it's like, I think you need to flip Brees Hall into
Brees is one of those three running back this year.
What?
So Joe Mixon
is
the number one running back this year.
Shut the fuck up. Are you serious right now?
We still have Sunday night, which has who's playing right now? The Niners and the Cowboys, and then whoever tomorrow night is. Yeah, I'm absolutely not shitting you right now. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's projected for next week. I'm an idiot. Hang on. No, I fucked that up.
I was gonna say I'm seeing top 3 by average score per game: Mixon, Henry, Barkley. Kyron Williams is like 7th.
My league. These are all season total counts. Henry, Kamara, Williams, Barkley, Brees Hall at 5, Robinson at 6, Jamar, Aaron Jones, Kenneth Walker, Hubbard.
Yeah.
So I have running about 5, 6, and like 15.
I mean, so maybe Kyler and Brees for Saquon or Kyron. I would start there. If that seems amenable to you.
Kyler and Brees for Saquon. Yeah, if I can not get rid of Brees, I'm going to start with Swift and Kyler for one of the running backs. I'm going to start there.
Start low, see where he argues. Yeah,
exactly. And then if he gets to that point, I don't know if I'm going to want to do that, because it's kind of nice right now having Lamar gets dinged up and they eat him for a couple weeks before the playoffs. I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
That depth though, that help. That's so really the crazy thing about that auction draft was, I think I got Kyler for like $2, and I'm sitting there with
no way.
Oh yeah, and because the nominations went weird. Like someone nominated all the middles, and then everyone was out of money when Lamar hit, and so I got Lamar for like $8.
Nice, yeah, that's a good
which
deal.
He should have went for like 15. So I was like, I got him on accident. Every year, I always get one guy I don't want on my roster at all, because I'm just in the middle, like bidding up, like, oh, this guy will go for way higher than there he is. Oops. I thought Lamar was gonna go for like 20. Like, okay, because I saw, I put him closer to Hurts, Allen, Mahomes than I did Murray, Stroud, Love.
Sure.
And I got stuck with him. So anyway, we'll see how that goes tomorrow. Obviously I've got till Wednesday to figure it out. Not that I'm in a pressure, but it's very interesting. Interesting. Something.
Yeah, we'll have to follow up on that. But listen, I got a you want to wrap this one up?
I am so ready to go. Good luck to you, bud. I hope that goes really well for you.
Thank you. All right. Yeah. Run the North week 8. We're wrapping it up. Thanks for joining me, Jason. Baby. Later.
Talk to you, bud. See ya.
Skol.
Bye.